Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Postgame Podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Happy New Year's Eve. I'm Jay Zawaski with Greg Boysen and Mario Tirabassi. We are at home today because we're not coming downtown on New Year's Eve and getting run over by drunk drivers. Then they move the game to noon, and we're like, you know what? Let's stay home anyway. And boy, the Hawks, that's what they deserved after this one. Hawks
Glad we did.
4-1 in Columbus, and we're going to get to all of it, of course. First, want to remind you of a couple things. If you're watching us live on YouTube, thank you. Join us in the chat. Make sure you smash that like button, and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel as well. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you're subscribed or following us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. That way you automatically get every episode in your feed as soon as it's done. So make sure you do that. And what else? I think we got everything covered in terms of those things. Oh yeah, we've got our poll going right now on YouTube. Is this the worst loss of the year? Simple yes or no poll. And fellas, I'm feeling a little more fired up about this one than usual. And I'm going to give myself one segment to act like games matter. And fully acknowledging, this is a tank win, and when the draft lottery rolls around, we'll be happy that this game was a loss. But this game pissed me off a lot because the Blackhawks had zero interest in playing this game. They had none. They had no urgency to their game at all. They gave up a shorthanded goal on the lack of focus play by Jonathan Toews. So you can't blame that on kids or talent. It was just a whole lot of 60, 70% effort all night long. This is a team in Columbus who's lost 7 in a row. They've lost 200-something man games to injuries. They were primed for a beating. They were primed to lose. And Hawks came out and they just want to get to their reservations. They want to get on the plane. They want to get home. And they want to go do whatever they're going to do for New Year's Eve. And frankly, as a Hawks fan, you should be kind of pissed about this performance. We've said game after game after game, you know what? They're trying hard. They're competing. They just don't have the talent. That's the story most nights. This was not the case. They were not out-talented. They were not outmatched. They were not out-coached. They were out-efforted. And to me, that's inexcusable. And yeah, I know that the losses start to pile up and they start to hurt, and it really, really sucks. The team you're playing against that you just lost 4-1 to has lost 7 games in a row. They don't have an excuse. They came out ready to play. They outshot you 38-27. They kicked your ass for 60 minutes, and everyone in that locker room, with the exception of maybe Alex Stalock and Isaac Phillips, should be pretty effing embarrassed about that performance. It was absolutely brutal.
I mean, look, they started this game with the lead. Like, you thought it was going to be, hey, we remember that game right before Christmas and how good it felt to actually beat a team that you probably are pretty close to. It felt like that was going to be the direction the game was going to go. But then, you give up the tying goal with less than 2 minutes to go in the first period. And then you give up the extra 3-1, insurance goal with 3 seconds left to go in the second period. So you head into both intermissions feeling, you don't have the good feeling of going into an intermission feeling like, you have control of the game. So it's just, the start was good. I don't think that they were able to recover from it. And this isn't a team that can really play from behind too often with success. And yeah, I mean, I'm upset that we had to sit through that effort as fans and as viewers and fanalists of the Blackhawks that we are. I'm so thankful that the game was moved up to noon. I would not have liked to have gotten into the meat of my New Year's Eve and then had to sit down at 6 o'clock and say, all right, bring on the Blackhawks. Like, that would have really put a damper on my day. At least we can rebound from that and enjoy the New Year's Eve evening. I want to be as fired up and pissed off as you are, Jay. But I mean, look, this team sucks. They're the worst in the league. 31 teams are better than them, including the Blue Jackets, who, even though they suck too, they're better than the Blackhawks. And that was that was, the effort. They have to out effort teams to get wins. They weren't able to do that, so they weren't going to get a win tonight or today. So it's disappointing that is the effort to close the road trip, to close the year, and for that to be the effort on day one of back-to-back games. Tomorrow night is going to be very interesting against another poor team in the San Jose Sharks that keep flirting with the tank standings.
Yeah, I'm not upset or disappointed. Like, it's not like I'm not. I don't stake many emotions on Blackhawks wins or losses these days, but the effort level was disappointing. I'm most disappointed, the only thing I'm upset about is they scored first and ruined our almost for sure bet every game. Like, if you're gonna crap the bed and lose 4-1, don't score first. Score second. That's what you do all year. So I mean, it's disappointing, but we've been wondering when this type of stuff was gonna happen. We've applauded this team a lot, saying, hey, they are trying to win hockey games, they just don't have the talent to do it. But we've also been wondering, like, hey, how tough is it going to be to get these guys ready to play for a game at noon when you've won one game in a month? And we've been worrying about that, and now we're seeing that. And Michael asked in the question early in the chat something about, when does it come down to coaching? They're responsible for getting ready. There's nothing coaching. Yeah. I don't know. You can't really hang anything on. If this was Colliton, you'd be all over him. We would jump all over Colliton because that team never looked organized once under Jeremy Colliton.
Right.
They didn't. It wasn't like just because we didn't just jump on them just because they didn't give out the effort. They looked unprepared, completely unprepared. Like they had never played hockey before.
There's no system at all.
Lack of adjustments as well.
Yeah, that's on coaching. A team that's not ready to play, the Hawks looked prepared. They looked like they knew, they know what they're supposed to do out there. Luke Richardson is one of the most detailed head coaches I've ever been around. It just at some point, yeah, you can say coach's job to get them ready. Sure, you're not wrong, but the players have got to wear this L right now. They didn't put in the work today. They've put in the work on a lot of 4-1 losses already this year. They didn't put in the work today. And I don't know what Luke Richardson's supposed to do if guys come to the rink not giving a shit. And that's what we saw today.
Well, I agree with you mostly. I do think that there are a few coaching things that I take issue with here. There's no reason Boris Kachuk should be playing in this game. I know Kara and I know Entwistle are banged up. There has to be some sort of message sent when guys have a game like he had the last game. And there hasn't been, right? Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane are showing really nothing the entire game. So, at the end of the second period, they're put together on a line with Max Domi. Yes, I know you're trying to get things going, but it's really frustrating. And Ian Mitchell continues to sit. Why? So we can get another look at Caleb Jones and Jack Johnson. Like, at some point, there's got to be some accountability here. And I'm not saying to bench Toews or Kane. That's ridiculous. It's never going to happen. Of course not, right? That will never happen, and it shouldn't. But it's just, there has to be some sort of consequence for these things. And I know that Luke is trying to keep the players, I don't know if happy is the right word, but feeling trusted, feeling like they're in control. Like he has said over and over again, deferring, like, hey, I want to stay out of the way, and I want these players to handle these things themselves, and I want the leaders of this team to step up. And then if I have to jump in there, I will. But I would prefer, these guys are all professionals. A lot of these guys are veterans. You've got Toews, Kane, Seth Jones, Jack Johnson, Jake McCabe, Tyler Johnson, guys that have won before, guys who know what it means to have success in this league, that should be capable of leading this team. Instead, you're seeing a bunch of guys, of the guys I just named, having bad games and being some of the culprits in these losses. Seth Jones had 2 pretty bad penalties in the first period, right? Like, it's just, It's when the guys you're counting on to pull you out of this are the ones dragging you down. That's a problem. And I think that's when, and maybe it happens today after the game. Maybe he waits till after the San Jose game when they get back to practice, whatever. But now might be the time for Luke to get in there and be like, hey, this is unacceptable, right? I gave you guys the benefit of the doubt. I'm letting you police things on your own. Great. But guess what? It hasn't worked, and you cannot come into this game today and play the way the Hawks played. I know. Tank win, great. The goal is Connor Bedard, and this goes a long way towards that, right? But it's just we got to look at each game as its own thing every now and again. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just in a shitty mood today. I don't know, but I'm kind of livid about the way this game went. It's inexcusable. It's one that this team should be chomping at the bit to play. You just beat the crap out of these guys, right before Christmas, and now you come in here and you just get bent over a barrel for 60 minutes. Like, have some pride. And it's the guys who are going to have some of the guys that are going to have statues and banners in this building that let you down the most today. And that's real frustrating. Okay. Sorry.
No, I agree with the roster stuff. Like, yeah, there's no way Boris Tkachuk plays after that last game. And yes,
dress seven defensemen just to send if Entwistle and Kara can't go.
Yeah, or get somebody up here or whatever. The Ian Mitchell thing I tweeted about during the game. I don't understand this. Like, he shouldn't be a seventh defenseman if he's not part of your plans, which it's becoming blatantly obvious that he's not. Fine, yeah. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I have my concerns if he's going to be a legit NHL defenseman. But if that's what you have, and then not playing him at all, either here or in Rockford, does nothing for everybody. So either play him here or send him back to Rockford, where he's at least helping the organization. He's been one of the best defensemen down in Rockford. Your goal this season is to get Rockford a deep playoff run. He will help that. If you're trying to showcase him, to trade him, give him a fresh start, he's not getting showcased sitting in the press box. He better be in the game tomorrow. You cannot roll out the same lineup for 3 straight games that have scored 2 goals. You have to make a change. Wanting to lose or not, it doesn't matter. The Ice Hogs play today. They're playing back-to-backs. They played last night. They beat the Wolves in a shootout in Rosemont. They're playing in Rockford. Puck's dropping in about an hour. Might not be the most ideal game to bring somebody up and play in their 3rd straight day in the NHL tomorrow. Fine. But hey, dress 7 defensemen. Who cares? It's time. Maybe Entwistle's better, and you can get him back in there and Kara and get some different blood in there. But how much different really is that? Swapping Boris Tkachuk and Colin Blackwell for Mackenzie Entwistle and Jujhar Khaira. What does that really do for you? Not a whole lot. It doesn't change much. That's the problem here. Like, we want changes, but what's here in the NHL right now isn't going to make a lick of difference, really.
It might not change. You're right in that it's not going to change the result, but I have faith that Jujhar Khaira and Mackenzie Entwistle aren't going to do the boneheaded crap that Boris Tkachuk has done over the last week.
No, I agree.
Again, like, yeah, is it going to end or is it going to win a game for them? Probably not. But at least there's going to be guys out there playing responsibly, playing for their teammates, not actively hurting the team. Like, we've talked a lot about Entwistle, probably more off the air than on this season, to be honest. And like, what is this guy? I don't really know, but I know when he's out there, he's working his ass off and he's doing the right things. Whether or not he ever takes that next step and becomes a consistent, 30-point guy or something like that, which is probably the ceiling for him, remains to be seen, but at least he's out there playing hard and doing the right things. Tkachuk is out there throwing the puck away, taking dumbass penalties, trying to fight people at stupid times. It's just, I know the main reason is because of the things you said, Greg. Rockford's got back-to-back games. Entwistle and Khaira are banged up. Fine, I get that, but man, if I never see number 14 out there again, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, until it's being worn by a different player. But here's the thing: your next 7 games starting tomorrow at home. Got very easy to get guys up from Rockford to play in one of those midweek games and send them back if you have to. Get Josiah Slavin up here. Let him take the Boris Tkachuk role. Get Cole Gutman up here for a couple games. Maybe you score more than 1 goal in a game with Cole Gutman. Just mix it up a little bit. Show that these guys in in the NHL locker room that your roster spot, you shouldn't be comfortable, especially, yes, I know this is a bad team and where we've got the least amount of talent in the league, but when you don't want to put the work in, your spot isn't guaranteed. And show the guys in Rockford saying, hey, we're paying attention. We're going to reward you guys. The plan is to keep you there for the season. We get all that, but come on up, play a couple games, and take that experience back to Rockford with you. You've got 7 straight at home. Now is the time to start doing that. And then hopefully in the next few weeks, we start seeing some major roster changes with some trades, maybe a minor trade here or there leading up to the big guns. But, it's frustrating to watch it. You know what the plan is. I know what the plan is. It's going exceedingly well right now. And kudos for that. This ends with Connor Bedard or Adam Fantilli, then, these rants seem rather pointless. But just, this team is work hard. That's the motto. That's the hashtag, ready to work. That wasn't the case today. So don't say one thing and do something different. Keep on losing. That's fine. But at least show that you have, as you said, Jay, a little bit of pride. You're in the NHL. That's not something many people get to do. Don't take it for granted. Go out there and play like you want to stay here.
Yeah. I think I just, kind of echo your guys' points that like the roster changes are not necessarily, we're not calling for them because we think it'll drastically change the results. We're calling for them because we want to see some accountability for these players. And in a tank season, you can say, well, it's just throw out the lineup. What does it matter? They lose. It's a tank win, whatever. This was an exceedingly successful tank win today. I keep doing that. God, tank win today. To drop points to the team that's directly in front of you, padding that cushion for last place. But look, like the roster moves, the lineup moves. Luke Richardson has been he's been very consistent with not necessarily making like knee-jerk reactions or anything like that with roster changes, with lineup changes. It's been kind of more calculated moves. This is 3 months now of this roster, mostly the same, with having Isaac Phillips come up for a few games. At the start of the season, you had Alec Regula in the lineup, Ian Mitchell in and out. Lucas Reichel came up for 12 hours. Like, there hasn't been that many drastic moves made, but I think now we've seen 3 months of this team, and you definitely can now identify some of the guys that are, the roster spots should be on unstable ground, and whether it kicks them in the pants and they can, react to it in the right way and get their game straight, or if it pushes them further to, hey, maybe they're not going to be part of this team. Maybe they do get a 7th round pick for whoever, 6th round pick, whatever it is, because they need a change. Fine. I think there's no reason to wait until March 3rd to make some roster moves, to make some roster changes, and start looking at guys who you want to invest in, and guys who you want to, get a little something back for them.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to make any move that's going to drastically, get them out of the tank standings, right? There's no addition they're going to make. If they make a trade in season for a significant name, obviously Toews and Kane will probably be closer to deadline, so they can drive up the cost or the interest or whatever. But let's say they move Connor Murphy, right? Maybe you get a pick, maybe you get a prospect, maybe you get one of each. Fine. But at least it inject some life into it. And think about last year, like when they traded for Radish and Kachuk, there was at least that excitement of, all right, here's some new people to watch and evaluate. And they were showing the before the game today, what is it called? Every Shift? Is that what the name of the Blackhawks online documentary is called?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's something like that, Every Shift or whatever. And they were and they showed a little clip of it, and it was Norm McIver just saying, we're using this year to evaluate the guys that are here that might be part of the core for years to come. We've already determined, some that might be and some that might not be. So look, I know this is all part of the plan. I know this is exactly how it's supposed to go, but I have trouble, and this is pointing the thumbs at myself. I can't look at these games as like an NHL 23 simulation of a season where the more losses, the better. And every time they lose, we should be happy. There's more to it than that, right? You have players picking up bad habits. You have other teams seeing how this team operates. Like, I don't know. I just think it's more important than just lose. There's got to be some sign of growth. And there's got to be some sign of, hey, I see what Luke Richardson's doing here. And I'm being clear here. I really like Luke Richardson. I think he's done almost as good of a job as you can with the cards he's been dealt, right? Like this roster is trash. It is what it is. But to me, it's like I can't just look at all 82 of these games as, well, losses are good. So there it is. I can't do that. I have to spend at least a segment of every show evaluating the game we saw, because it does matter. Even if not all these guys or half these guys or a third of these guys or 10% of these guys are going to be here next year or 2 years, whatever. I just think it matters to the culture. I think it matters to the environment. It affects the people in the organization too that aren't on the ice. Like, all these things matter. It's not a computer simulation. So maybe that's why I get a little more fired up than just like, oh, yay, another tank loss. I just got to see more. I got to see more. And early on, it was, just a matter of talent. Lately, there's been some effort things that have been concerning.
Well, look, it's time, man. It is time and effort and money that we and other Blackhawks fans are investing in this team. If you're still doing that, my hat is off to you, because they haven't given you anything in return. And that's, I think, Jay, maybe that's probably where some of your frustration is stemming from. That's where some of it is stemming from for me. It's our job to watch this team and to talk about them and cover them extensively. But it's time and effort, and our GAF meters have to be high every game. So when it's not returned and it doesn't seem like there's changes, that's why it's super frustrating. That's why it's just like, okay, we understand the losses are the objective, but you got to throw us a bone once in a while. The game before Christmas Eve was one of those bones, and I thought today was going to be another one. And if they both came against Columbus, that's fine. Let them continue to cry about Max Domi's comment that Chicago's a better city than Columbus. Sorry, you hate hearing the truth, but
sorry you're mad at facts.
Yeah, right. But I think that's the biggest frustration, is that, every now and then you want to see the team have a game where you can sit back, enjoy the hockey that you're watching, and not have to qualify it with, well, they suck, but it's for a reason. Like, we just want to be like, hey, this team gave us a good game tonight. That's what we want to see every now and then.
Yeah. By the way, Paul, I think it's Paul, who said I was drinking Coors Light. I'm not. I'm drinking delicious Dr. Brown's Diet Cream Soda.
Cream soda. Nice.
This was my birthday gift for my daughter, because anytime I go to any Jewish deli, I get as much of this as I can. So I got a case of this for my birthday. So
very nice.
Not Coors. Nice. Nothing against Coors, but if I'm drinking Goose Island. That's
yeah. Well, I mean, it is the accountability. I know Luke has talked about it a lot, and it's kind of frustrating to see a man that says accountability, and then not necessarily practicing what he preaches. But we don't know, obviously there doesn't look like there was anybody to put in extra today, which is fine. Okay. But now that we're back home, let's start. Maybe his hands are tied. Maybe he's been screaming, get me Cole Gutman up here. And Kyle Davidson's like, nah, I don't want it. We're going to just roll with these guys. So we don't know if that's a factor in any of this. I'd like to see some different lineup combinations over this homestand. You can get guys in and out. You just gotta, I don't know. It's one of those things where you're like, what can we really do to make much of a difference? I know we don't want to make a difference, but Cole Gutman and Josiah Slavin playing 4 or 5 games in a row, it's not going to hurt the tanking at all. Those guys aren't going to come up here and get us on a 6-game winning streak, and we're going to draft 7th.
No, not at all.
Bless you.
I'm allergic to this chat.
No, I know. Look, I know what people are saying, right? This is the plan, and come draft day or draft lottery day, it's not going to matter. And yes, I know that's true, but I just feel there is some value in baby steps happening during the course of the year, and we say it all the time too. Success is not linear. Development is not linear. Luke Richardson's development as a head coach will not be linear. He will be learning lessons on the fly. He's a first-year head coach, and even if this team was stacked with Stanley Cup contenders, there would be lessons that he would be learning as the year goes on. It's kind of a perfect situation. Someone said this the other night about Chris Foster's, saying, hey, this is a perfect opportunity for him where interest is at an all-time low, not an all-time low, but a last decade low, so he can kind of find his legs while the team gets good, and then when the team's good, he'll be better. Same thing for Luke Richardson, right? He's on the plane now, probably thinking, all right, that didn't work, right? Going back to the same lineup after a bad loss didn't work. Now what? Now what do we do? And we've got to evaluate, and how do I handle this better next time? Look, I have no questions about him as a strategic head coach, right? Putting the team in systems that will put them in a position to win. Now, whether or not they follow that system remains to be seen. And he sort of alluded to this earlier in the year, saying, like, when guys are struggling to score and things are going well, you try to do too much. You lose that simplicity that his system is designed to be. But X's and O's wise, I feel like him and his staff do a pretty decent job. It's up to the players to execute. Yeah. But it's the roster decisions, it's the playing time, it's the line combos, it's how long to stick with a line, when to change up things during a game, when to pull the goalie. Those are the things that he's going to have to learn on the fly here. And what better year to do it than now, I suppose.
Absolutely. It's the best year for him to learn his lessons the hard way, because wins and losses don't matter. Better that he learn these lessons now when the losses are but what you want, and as opposed to bring him in for a team that has playoff aspirations and you fumble a few coaching decisions there and it costs you a playoff spot. So I have no doubt that he's learning on the job too, and he's learning some of these lessons. And, you know, in the flow of an NHL season, there's a lot of things that are out of a head coach's control. You know, so I have no doubt he's learning. He's one of the smartest hockey coaches I've ever been around. And I don't think, you know, I think he knew. Somebody asked in the chat earlier, you know, did Luke, and do you think Luke knew this roster was, I think it was Paul, something about the roster being this bad when he took the job. Yeah, he was told what this was going to be, and he knew what it was, and he accepted it. And so, you know, as long as he's learning from these mistakes and doesn't repeat them when it really matters, then hopefully in 4 or 5 years, we're not even going to remember any game from this season, because it doesn't matter anymore, because Connor Bedard is a Hart Trophy candidate, and Drew Comezzo is becoming a big goaltender, and Kevin Korchinski is making people think about the Norris like, it's not going to matter if this rebuild works right.
Yeah, true. You're right. It's just I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that we have to be here.
Well, yeah, we got to watch every game, and it gets.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier to do a show after they win, and just the entire tenor of everything is better. But I don't know. It's when they're not playing hard and they look checked out that concerns me. And you know, it's a couple guys who I didn't think I would ever see that from, and that's, you know, I think Toews was terrible today. I think he was
bad
terrible.
The whole road trip. Bad. Both of them were bad the whole road trip.
It's just not. I don't know. Kane -2. He had 4 shots on goal, led the team. Him and Connor Murphy had 4. Toews had 3. Won 60% of his faceoffs, -2. It's just, you know, you just want these guys to be the ones. And if you read the great thing in the Athletic today, they're going through their NHL like 99 list, like the top 99 players. And Kane's day was I think he's 41. And Scott Powers like basically just sat down and watched film with Patrick Kane, like old highlights with DeBrincat and Panarin, and all it is Patrick Kane waxing poetic about the past, saying, man, he hopes he can win again, and he misses playing with guys like DeBrincat and Panarin, and that, you know, it's just, if you read that, you really get the vibes that he's got a foot out the door, and you can't blame him. But while you're here, Come on.
Well, the way he played this road trip makes me think he's got a foot out the door too, and which is surprising because those last 2 home games, that Nashville and Columbus games, were probably the best 2 games of his season
that he played. Yeah.
Yeah, he had that monster night in Nashville where he had 7 or 8 shots on goal,
Yep.
came close to scoring, didn't. Then he finally had the 3 points, the goal against Columbus. Yeah, he did score in the St. Louis game, but that was his only shot on goal the whole night.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do read that and you start thinking but he sees it. What's his future here? I don't blame him for batting his eyelashes lovingly at the past right now.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah, that's all he's got, because the present is awful and his future is probably somewhere else.
Unknown. Yeah. Well, him and Toews, they will meet with management and their agent this month, and maybe we'll get some direction with both of them.
Yeah. Good question from Lebowski 5. We're going to get to after we tell our friends about Shady Rays and Athletic Greens. So we'll get to that on the other side. We've still got to do our 4 stars of the game. We've still got to do our tank standings and our tank sim, and make sure you vote on our poll. Is this the worst loss of the year? A lot of people mentioning the loss to Dallas, that they were winning and gave up 5 third period goals. Yeah, that was pretty bad. But I think when you factor in opponent, this one's pretty bad too. But yeah, I think that Dallas one still has to be the winner, but we'll update you at the end of the show on those poll results.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the Blackhawks future, and hopefully the Blackhawks future is getting so bright that we eventually have to put on a pair of Shady Rays when we talk about it. Shady Rays is the official sunglasses friends brand of CHGO. They never understood why sunglasses were so expensive, so they set out to change it. You don't have to break the bank for quality sunglasses this fall, because our friends at Shady Rays have you covered. Shady Rays are premium polarized shades, I hate that word, featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles catered to everyone and every lifestyle. Best part about Shady Rays is they have the most insane protection program in all of eyewear. If you lose or break your shades on day 1, they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Doesn't matter how they're broke or lost, they will replace them. If you have a little bit too much fun on New Year's Eve tonight and you come home and you can't find your sunglasses, well, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. Even with that strong of a protection program, they still manage to make quality that I could tell you for being a customer of theirs for a couple of years. They are just as good, if not better, than any of the expensive brands on the market. Shady Rays also provides 10 meals to fight hunger in America with every order placed, and have donated over 20 meals to date. They stand behind their product, and they have told us here at CHGO that if anyone has a problem, they will throw profit out the big giant test window at the Shady Rays factory and do whatever it takes to get it right. Free returns and exchanges. You either love the shades or Shady Rays will pay to ship them back. That's it. And exclusive deal for our listeners. Use the promo code CHGO at checkout, and you will receive 50% off 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. That's buy one, get one free. You can get 2 pairs of awesome Shady Rays for as low as $54. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at shadyrays.com, where you can find all their newest and best shades.
And hey, if you wake up tomorrow missing your Shady Rays, you can get those replaced. I think if you lose your Shady Rays overnight, you might wake up tomorrow and want to start your day off right. Do that with a nice tall glass of AG1 from Athletic Greens, the formula designed to improve your gut health, optimize your immune system, give you more natural energy, and help you out with those New Year's Day morning feelings. In just 1 scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start or end your day the right way. If you have different dietary restrictions, whatever they might be, whether it's gluten-free or dairy-free or keto, paleo, whatever it is, you're able to incorporate AG1 into that diet, and you're able to get it into your life no matter how busy you might be, because it's just a small once-a-day habit, but it has really big benefits. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Again, it's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. AG1 does it all. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is go to athleticgreens.com/CHGO Blackhawks. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/CHGO Blackhawks to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
All right, since we started the show, a couple of people have mentioned it in the chat, but a little bit of breaking news here from Scott Powers. Arvid Soderblom is expected to miss 2 to 3 weeks with a groin injury, the Ice Hogs announced. So we knew he was banged up. We didn't know what the specific injury was or the extent. So there you go, 2 or 3 weeks for Arvid Soderblom, who more than anyone on earth probably needs a break.
Probably.
Yeah, well, yeah. Blackhawks need to work on their groin strength. We got some groin issues with the goalies here.
Yeah, well, Peter Mrazek came with four bad groins.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's I guess that's a position where if you're going to hurt a groin, that's probably the most likely one to do it at.
Mm-hmm.
But the question I mentioned before the break from Lebowski says, which foundational prospects have a good chance of being on the Hawks next year? And is it a good idea bringing important prospects into this situation? Good question. I think first and foremost, Lucas Reichel will be here next year for 82 games. I don't know how you could possibly justify not calling him up next year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way.
He should be up for a good chunk of the back half of this season before inevitably going back to Rockford to help them with their late season and postseason push. But he should definitely be up for more than a 1-game instance this season. And yeah, I mean, there's no way he doesn't play all next season with this team. And to the point of putting prospects in this situation. Eventually you have to play your young kids, and eventually, you're not going to go into the 2024-25 season having never seen Lucas Reichel in a long-term NHL position. You're not going to bring up Korchinski or Del Mastro or Nazar or Slager or any of those guys directly into the 2024-25 season and have a team ready to compete. These young players, these young prospects, regardless of the situation, are going to come in and they're going to take some lumps, whether it's next year or the year after that. So you can't shelter them forever. You can continue to give them opportunities to develop in college, in their junior leagues, in the AHL with the Ice Hogs. You can keep giving them those opportunities, but eventually they have to stretch their NHL legs, and sometimes that's going to come with some hard lessons learned. I mean, look at Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook. They were young, up and coming prospects that were thrown into some tough situations, and they had to learn some tough lessons. Now, did it pan out for them? Yeah, it absolutely did. And they had a team around them that could eventually help them. The Blackhawks' plan is to do that again. So when you look at some of these guys that are going to be coming up, they're all going to kind of have to come together and kind of come up together and kind of learn those lessons together to eventually, once enough pieces of the puzzle are in place, they're going to have a competitive team, and they're going to have a young competitive team that can hopefully extend a contention window for another decade or so.
Yeah, I agree. Lucas Reichel will be in the lineup. I mean, foundational prospects, I'm not sure how many there really are at this point, especially up front that will be NHL ready next year. I think we'll see some of the young defensemen get extended roles here. Isaac Phillips, if you leave him here for the rest of the season, I'm fine with that too.
Sure.
He does not look out of place at all. He's been really good. But I think next year you'll see, Vlasic and Regula, if they're still in the organization, they'll probably get their NHL looks, because next year is going to be more of a year of, okay, now we could start to look at some more of these younger guys and feel out if they're going to be here for it. There'll be more roster spots for those guys. They're still going to have to bring in some veterans on 1-year contracts. You're still going to need next year's version of Max Domi and Andreas Athanasiou and Jack Johnson. You're going to need those, but I think you'll be able to bring in more of the younger guys. As far as like cornerstone type prospects, guys that you can pencil in as being core members of hopefully another good team. Most of those guys are still going to be in juniors in college next year. You know, your Frank Nazar's not playing in Chicago next year. Korchinski's probably not playing in Chicago next year. You know, I could see Del Mastro and Nolan Allen sliding in the Rockford and taking the spots of Vlasic and Regula and Phillips. You know, let those guys down, become the young core in Rockford for a year. So we'll see more younger players. I think next year they'll probably be a little more quick to pull the trigger on call-ups and mix things up a little more, because I don't think next year's goal is going to be, hey, let's go for Connor Bedard again. You know, it's going to be a little different. They're going to be a top 5 pick worthy team again, most likely, but I don't think we're going to be stressing over every victory like we are this year, next year.
Yeah. Also, you know, with those guys up, it's going to be a little more interesting to watch too, because there's going to be guys that matter and you're truly evaluating for, like, and depending on how you define foundational, it doesn't mean that they're going to be the next pillars of the franchise like Kane and Toews and Keith and Seabrook, but everyone we talk to whose job it is to watch prospects believes that Lucas Reichel is going to be a good player. They're not calling him the next Kane or Toews or Sidney Crosby or anything, but he's going to be a career top 6 type of guy, maybe an elite third liner on a really good cup champion team. But those are the pieces you need. Then when you draft the Korchinskis and hopefully the Bedards or Fantillis or whatever, those guys start to fill in. You've got that foundation there already. That's exactly what happened with the dynasty, was you had Keith, Seabrook, Crawford all in the system playing. Then Kane and Toews get drafted. Then a couple other prospects pan out, like Dustin Byfuglien panned out, Dave Bowman panned out, Hjalmarsson. You were able to flip Tuomo Ruutu for Andrew Ladd. That worked out. You find Chris Versteeg. You make the Patrick Sharp trade happen. So there's all these different ways to get yourself to that place again. It's not just going to be prospects, and it's not just going to be free agents, but like we say, like with Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook, their early years were ugly at the NHL level. They were making mistakes. They looked like we would look at each other in Section 329 and say, I don't know if either of these guys can play. That's normal, right? That's how it's going to look. And I think there is a value to guys coming up and learning at the NHL level. Like, I think even if you just look at Isaac Phillips, for example, from his first handful of games to his most recent 2, you've seen a little bit of a jump, right? And there might be a drop coming. You might have a tough game, sure. But I think learning at the highest level matters. And Greg, I think you're right. I don't think next year's roster is going to look like this one. I don't think it's going to be a bunch of scrap heap veterans looking to be flipped at the playoffs. There'll be some, of course, but I do think there'll be a lot more kids and prospects here that matter. So it'll be a little bit easier.
I certainly hope so, because it'll at least give us something else to watch and talk about.
Well, right. I mean, like we said, if Reichel was here, we'd have the Reichel report every night, right? Like, it would just be part of our coverage is watching these prospects that matter. There aren't many on the team right now that do. Other foundational guys that could be part of the team next year. You mentioned Regula, Vlasic, that's for sure. Who's the other one you mentioned that I'm blanking on? You mentioned other defensemen. It doesn't matter.
Potentially Del Mastro.
Yeah, Del Mastro too. Like, and again, all 3 of those guys aren't probably going to pan out to be like great NHL players, but if 1 or 2 of them hit and 1 or 2 of your forwards, you know what I mean? It's just nothing is really concrete right now in terms of anything. The only prospect I really have huge hopes for and like really believe is going to be excellent is Korchinski. But even that isn't, you know what I mean? Like, even that's unsure. We've only seen glimpses.
Right. If you want to put on your pessimistic hat, all these guys could be shit, and we could just, be living in NHL hell for 10 years. I hope I serviced all of our naysayers that love to talk like that. But look, there's guys that could come up, and not every prospect is going to hit their ceiling. If some scratch their ceiling, that's good. If some blow through their ceiling, great. Some of them are never going to reach it. That's just the reality of it. If guys like Korchinski and Nazar and Rinzel, the three first-round picks from this past draft class, if they all scratch or hit their ceiling, oof, that's a great start. If Del Mastro turns into a solid top 4 defenseman, if Alex Vlasic can be a solid defenseman, if Alec Regula can be a solid defenseman, that's a lot of size in your defensive core. That's along with Isaac Phillips, he's in the same boat, and I think that's a good foundation where the Blackhawks can start with some of these young guys. Some of these young players too might develop well, and just through the draft or free agency or trades or whatever it is, some of these young prospects might develop well, but be surpassed by other prospects as they come up, or other players as they come up. Like, look, like Lucas Reichel, this offseason before the draft was the Blackhawks' best prospect. When the draft was over, he was number 3. Like, that's just how it works. Like guys are going to come in and take the spots of some of these guys. So they might end up panning out to be pretty good, but end up being worth maybe a little bit more as a contending team potentially trade some of these guys and trades them for more capital. Like, look, there's development in getting these prospects to be NHL guys and competitive and ready to help the Blackhawks. There's also ways that they can come up and be helpful in the offseason, be helpful at trade deadline, be helpful at the NHL draft or anything like that. Like, there's definitely guys that can come up and become currency in a good way. And I think, Kyle Davidson, he's early in his GM life so far. From what we've seen, he does have a good way of kind of flipping things in trades. He got 2 first-round picks and 2 NHL players for Brandon Hagel. He turned Alex Nylander into Sam Lafferty. He was able to get something for Marc-Andre, get a second-round pick for Marc-Andre Fleury. He was able to walk into a draft day on last summer with no first-round picks and come away with 3. Did he have to make some tough decisions to do that? Yeah, he did. But I think there's ways that these guys can come up and be managed that eventually pan out to a really good contending window. So it's going to require patience. It's going to require a lot of long-term vision. And there's guys to be excited about.
Yeah.
Well, here's one more quick point on this topic before we move on to our 4 stars. There could be some of these young NHL ready players that aren't even part of the organization yet. Like I put out a tweet during the game. I was checking in on the Buffalo game, and I'm just like, look at Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck and the type of seasons they're having. They're having monster years. So I know we all love to say, hey, let's get a first-round pick for this guy. Let's get a first-round pick for this guy. At some point, we have to start getting top prospects in trade. So maybe if Kane and Toews get traded, we get another team's top prospect, and that's one of the guys that's on next year's roster and competing for a spot. So there could be some of these foundational type prospects that won't even be a part of this team until, say, March 3rd. So a lot of unknowns still to go, but I think next year is going to be not a lot of wins. It's going to be another crack at the lottery pick, but it will be a much more interesting season, hopefully exciting season. There's going to be more things to be like tuning into and getting excited about, guys that you could actually attach yourself to, as opposed to 18 guys where 16 of them aren't even going to be here next year.
Yep. Totally agree with that. All right, we're going to do our 4 stars of the game. Right now, we've got 47 likes. If you want an extra spin at the tank simulator, I need, what we set the number at? We did 55 yesterday. Let's do 57 today. 10 more likes, and we'll get a bonus
Ben
spin
Smith
at the tank simulator. Exactly.
The original
Ben
Smith.
the Blackhawks legend Steve McCarthy on the Blue Jackets bench, made most famous for hitting my wife with a puck moment before she had a job interview. When she came out to the edge in Bentonville, he sent one into the crowd. She had a nice bruise on her arm, but she got the job, so it worked out. So
there you go.
Thanks, Steve McCarthy. All right, let's do the 4 stars of the game. Number 3 star for Columbus, Johnny Gaudreau, 2 assists, 4 shots on goal. He's got like 27 assists on the year. having a good year. Eunice Corpusalo, 26 saves on 27 shots. He was excellent in goal for the Blue Jackets. And Gustav Nyquist, 2 goals on 4 shots. He is the number 1 star of the game.
That's a name.
My 4th star is Isaac Phillips. I really liked his game today. The one mistake he made, this happened last game too. He kind of turned it over at the blue line, but got back in the defensive zone and made up for the play. Got in the way, took down Johnny Gaudreau, and did not draw a penalty or did not take a penalty. He was great. Picked up his first NHL assist today. He was a +1, 15-19 of ice time, 2 block shots. More Isaac Phillips, please. I really liked his game. I thought he's been great, especially over the last 2.
For sure. Problem with that.
I'm going to go with Andreas Athanasiou as my 4th star of the game. He scored the Hawks' only goal. It was the first one of the game, thanks in part to Isaac Phillips with a nice keep at the blue line, and prevented the zone clear. And Athanasiou had a clear shot, and he banked it in. He had 2 shots on goal. He had 1 hit. He had a takeaway and a block shot as well. But he was one of the few guys on this team today that you can't say didn't care. He was moving his legs. He was doing what he does. He drew 3 penalties on his own in the second period. All 3 of those second period power plays were because Andreas Athanasiou was skating hard. What did the Hawks do with that 6 minutes of power play time? Only 2 shots on goal and gave up a shorthanded goal. So, yeah, they pissed the bed when it came to the power play, but at least Athanasiou was giving you those opportunities to piddle down your leg.
They took him.
Yeah, they absolutely did. My 4th star of the night was the man between the pipes, Alex Stalock. A solid effort from him. It's he waited till the last day of 2022 to provide his entry for the save of the year candidate with the paddle save he made on Johnny Gaudreau, which was great. He was the reason this game didn't really get out of hand, so to say, for the Blackhawks, and it's just another a solid performance from him. Like he's not going to get the goal support that most goalies who are putting up 920, 915 save percentages on a nightly basis are usually going to get. So, if he gives up three goals on 35 plus shots, whatever, he's not going to get the support for it. But those types of efforts keep the team in games, and that doesn't go for nothing. We heard it from Taylor Radish after the last game, saying that when Stalock is in the game, in the lineup, playing the way that he has been when he's been healthy, it picks up the team. Having him available in the locker room picks up the team, and they want to go out there and play better in front of him because of what he brings both on and off the ice. And I think that's a great thing for this team right now, to have at least somebody that can be in the locker room and say, hey guys, like, I'm doing my part. Like, you guys got to pick your ass up and do your own part too. And Stalock's doesn't seem like a guy who's going to shy away from having to do that. And the other thing too with him with continuing to put in efforts like this, I didn't think I'd be saying this 3 months ago, but Alex Stalock might actually be a nice little trade piece at the deadline if he continues to have an above league average save percentage on this terrible team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, if you're trying to solidify your goaltending tandem, like heading into the playoffs, I don't think anyone's going to take him on as like their new starter.
No, unless the Leafs catastrophize and lose all 3 of their goalies right before the playoffs start or anything like that.
Yeah, but if you got a maybe a kid as your backup that you're not really sold on, I wouldn't feel terrible heading into a playoff series with Alex Stalock as my backup.
Not with the way he's playing right now.
So, could you imagine watching Alex Stalock and the way he plays in a playoff overtime game? Oh, instant cardiac arrest! Holy crap.
Alex Stalock experience
in a game 7 overtime. Just not saying he can't win it, but just the way he goes for his adventures, man. I wouldn't want to have a horse in that race.
Yeah. Got a question here from Alan in the chat. Says, do you think the Hawks are even scouting Bedard, since it's such a no-brainer to take him if the team has number 1? Yes, I do think they're scouting Connor Bedard because they're scouting his teammates as well. They're, all eyes on the World Junior Championships right now. Also, it's not just like, you want to see how Bedard would fit too, right? Like what kind of players would complement him if they do end up with him. But yeah.
And there's a lot more into scouting a player than to just,
just
watching him on the ice. You got to learn about him as a person. You talk to him, you talk to his coaches, you talk to his teammate, his family. You put together like a profile. You got to watch him when he's not on the ice. How does he play when his team's up 8-1, or how does he play when his team is down 8-1? Is it any different? You got to see those types of things, interactions with teammates, interactions with coaches. All that goes into beyond, you could easily see the out of this world talent he has, but there's so many little intricacies that goes into coach scouting a young player than just what does he do while he's on the ice.
What are the parents like?
That's a big factor.
That
I mean, I scouted for 2 years at the North American Hockey League, the junior tier just below the USHL, and there were more than a handful of players I scratched off my to watch list because their parents were jagoffs, because I wasn't going to have my name attached to it. Because chances are, if the parents are assholes, there's a really good chance the kid is too.
All right, the poll results we have so far: is this the worst loss of the season? 42% say yes, 58% say no. Let's get to our tank standings real quick here, and we'll do our tank sim. Steven, have we reached our 57 likes?
We did hit it.
Nice, well done. All right, so we'll take 2 spins at the tank wheel, but first let's see where the Blackhawks fall in the tank standings. And yep, they've got a 4-point cushion with the Anaheim Ducks. They've got 20 points in 35 games. The Ducks with 24 and 37, Columbus 24 and 35, San Jose 29 and 37, and the Philadelphia Flyers 31 and 36. So the Blackhawks now with a 4-point lead, I guess, is what in the tank standings. So let's pull up the old tankathon and let's take a look at what they've got going on, and we will give it 2 spins. This is courtesy of tankathon.com. So let's go. First spin, Steven, fire away. There we go. Ooh, Vancouver gets the number 1 pick. Arizona.
Connor Bedard gets to play in his hometown, the dream of every hockey player ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only place that they can play is their hometown.
Yeah.
So Vancouver, Arizona, and Chicago are the top 3. Anaheim and Columbus get the next 2. All right, we got to spin it one more time. We can't do that.
This sucks.
Again,
the Vancouver loss.
Yeah, Vancouver.
I'm starting to think Tankathon has it in for the Hawks. They're always third now. Like, yeah.
Chicago and Anaheim are consistently jumped when we do these spins. I'm getting suspicious of Tankathon.
Hey, it is just a reminder though of the reality of they could be 0-82 and it doesn't guarantee them Connor Bedard.
I don't know. I don't think Tankathon is weighing the lottery balls the way the NHL might.
Yeah, or freezing the envelopes or whatever it is. The other thing to remember is if the Hawks finish with the worst record, they can't pick worse than 3.
Right.
So that's not factored in now because we don't know who the worst record will be. So when we spin Tankathon, the worst thing that can happen if the Hawks finish last is 3rd. So keep that in mind as the season goes along. All right, we've got to get to our king of the game. So let's do that. Our king of the game, sponsored by our friends at DraftKings, and who else but Alex Stalock. 34 saves, 3 goals against, a 919 save percentage, and I think 2 F-bombs caught by the hot mic.
At least one, yeah.
I tweeted it during the game. He is keeping Troy Murray going during this. For nothing delights Troy more than the hot mic catching an F-bomb. And I like that the Bosters have started acknowledging them now. Like, who do you think that was directed to?
It was a big old F you, Johnny, as he skated by, and Troy just laughs. Like, good for him. Like, why ignore it? Everybody heard it. Why pretend it didn't happen? Roll with it.
It is. He is a. I loved your tweet, Greg. That he is an artist of profanity. Absolutely true.
That's a Christmas story line that he talks about the old man. But just in case not everybody got it, I knew you would appreciate it. Not yet. I didn't have a chance to watch it.
Yeah. I won't sell anything, but I really
have questions. But the Stalock, the Troy stuff is great. It's got to take your little entertaining moments as the night goes on. And That was my highlight of the game. We should have given Troy Murray the king of the game for
he might get king of
giggling
the season for not going on the ice and killing everyone.
Yeah, giggling like a 12-year-old because somebody dropped an F-bomb.
I love it. And hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 back in free bets if they do. And if that's not enough excitement, you can turn those small bets into bigger payouts with same game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code CHGO. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do, only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And right now, it is time for the DraftKings pick of the week. Greg?
Yeah, well, we're gonna get 2 picks here because I made one bet and then realized that one of the games would have already have kicked off by the time we got to this segment of the show. But the original play of the week was taking the 2 favorites in our college football national semifinals tonight. So it's take Michigan giving up the 8 and Georgia giving up the 5. That parlay will pay out. What are the total odds here? Plus 264 on that one. Not the biggest odds, but I think it's a fair, safe bet. But then once I placed that and I looked at the time and I realized we wouldn't be getting to this until after that Michigan game started, I gave us a bonus pick, and it's concerning the Ohio State Georgia Bulldogs game going on later. I'm taking parlaying the over at 62.5 and the over 299.5 yards, so at least 300 yards passing for CJ Stroud. I think Georgia's going to get a big lead, and Ohio State's going to have to throw the football a lot tonight. So that's how I'm going with that one. That's plus 200. Again, not the greatest odds, but hey, it's still money back. So we wanted to do a Winter Classic bet, but we're too far out. There's no lines or anything like that. I think it's because the Penguins are playing tonight or something like that they can't put anything up there. So we want to do a Winter Classic bet. Maybe we'll still do a fun Winter Classic bet and throw it out there on the CHGO Blackhawks Twitter feed.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we got a show tomorrow night, so we'll. Yeah,
that's true. We do.
We can throw out an extra play of the week.
Way to ruin my New Year's. Remind me I have to go to the United Center and watch this team play the Sharks.
Yeah. Oh, hi! It's another matchup in the Bedard Bowl. It's college bowl season, and the Bedard Bowl is always featuring the Blackhawks.
Between the Blackhawks and Sharks, and 2 teams that have to travel to get to Chicago tonight, should be a barn burner.
It's going to be a good one. Speaking of barn burning and energy, the energy of barn burning. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's New Year's Eve. We are brought to you by ComEd and their energy efficiency program, which is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve save money and energy. ComEd offers free facility assessments that can help find energy saving opportunities, whether it's lighting, HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes. An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. And then within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project cost, potential incentives, and simple payback. So don't wait. Get started saving money on energy today. For energy saving tips and to schedule your free facility assessment, go to comed.com/poweringbiz. And if you're ready to sign up for a facility assessment, you can call them at 855-433-2700 during normal business hours to speak with a ComEd Energy Efficiency Program representative. You can also email them businessee@comed.com or request an online assessment at their website, comed.com/facility assessment.
All right, we're going to wrap the show up. Final poll numbers. Is this the worst loss of the season? 41% of you say yes. 59% of you say no. So there are your final results. We are back after tomorrow night's game, Blackhawks and Sharks at the United Center. It is a 6 p.m. puck drop, and we'll be live from our CHGO studio. So make sure you join us there, and hopefully we'll feel a little bit better about the way the game goes, win or lose, after tomorrow night. So for Mario and Greg, I'm
Happy
Jay.
New
Thanks
Year, everybody.
for running the show. Yeah, and Happy New Year. Be safe, everybody.
Yes.
If you're not sure if you should drive, don't. Call a cab, call an Uber, call me. I'll pick you up. If you're within a 5-mile radius of Homewood.
If you live on my block, I will come get you.
Yeah, but just be safe. Just be safe. Do the right thing and have fun. And we'll talk to you next year on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. I'm the worst.